Welcome to No Fun Channel. I'm Felix, and this is sci-fi shows I think they should remake. Next up is SeaQuest DSV. SeaQuest premiered September 12, 1993. It was on the air till June 9th, 1996. It ran for 3 seasons. It starred Roy Scheider as Captain Nathan Bridger. He was also the designer of SeaQuest as well. The show focused on the crew of SeaQuest and their adventures underwater, basically. The show was actually set in 2018. One of the things that appealed to me that made me a fan of the show was the fact how they was showing what the future could be like underwater. They had entire civilizations, countries. They were showing how people were farming, living, just communicating, going between the 2 locations, using submarines as transports to get between point A and point B. They did have their factions and a few scuffles here and there, but I think the scientific side of it is what really appealed to me. Now, unfortunately, in season 1, there was a lot of issues behind the scenes, and the ratings were not where they wanted them to be. The show was going up against ratings juggernaut Murder, She Wrote, and Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Unfortunately, SeaQuest was taking a beating in the ratings. Unfortunately, when season 2 rolled around, some changes were made. They actually got rid of the older cast members because they wanted to bring in younger cast members to pull in a younger audience. Some of the cast members refused to continue on because of the things that were going on behind the scenes. And some also refused to continue on with the show from where they switched locations where they were filming. In season 2, they actually went full sci-fi, dealing with genetically modified humans, aliens, telepaths, and time travel. By the end of the 2nd season, Roy was not happy. There was even an interview that Roy did where he called the show childish. By the end of season 2, they actually taken the SeaQuest into space to fight an alien war. When season 3 started, they actually did a time jump. And also at this point, Roy had actually decided not to continue on with the show. He appeared in one episode to explain what was going on with his character. Michael Ironside was brought in to take over. He was introduced as Captain Oliver Hudson. Now, one of the characters that also remained throughout all 3 seasons was Lucas, played by Jonathan Brandis. He was a teen idol at the time. Now, there were other cast members who continued on for all 3 seasons. But the main reason I bring up Lucas is because I never understood why his character was there. He played a teenage computer genius, and it just didn't make sense to have him there. Why would you have a teenager on a military vessel? Now, granted, SeaQuest was supposed to be military and scientific vessel, but it still fell under military jurisdiction. And also in season 3, one of the things they did is that they went more military with it. They were trying to go more dark with it and have more conflicts, more action is the best way to put it. But unfortunately, by season 3, the damage was done and the show didn't survive. Now, for me, one of the ways I would redo this show is a whole new cast. One, Jonathan Brandis, he actually passed away, and Roy Scheider also is passed away as well. And some of the cast members, I believe, have actually retired from acting. They don't really act anymore. I would also focus the show to be more like season 1. To me, the problem was they had it going up against shows that shouldn't have been going up against. Also, if you can keep the executives, the higher-ups from getting involved in the show, because every time it seems like they're the ones who kill shows. Now, if they wanted to keep the character of Lucas, I would do a few things different with that character. One is I would age him up. I would have him be in his 20s. They could even have him be in his early 20s. But I wouldn't have him be a teenager. And also would have him be like a civilian contractor that's working on SeaQuest. Now, they do have civilian contractors. Now, I don't know if they work on subs in real life, but that is one thing they could do is just have him be a civilian contractor. And they can keep the fact that he's a computer genius. Another thing they also had in season 1 was a dolphin called Darwin. And I didn't like Darwin, actually. I would just not include Darwin. I would just write him out of the show. They can still have Captain Nathan Bridger be the designer and the captain of the show. And as for the ages of the crew, I thought the ages of the crew were fine, so they could still have older people be on the show and main characters. Now, as for redesigning SeaQuest, honestly, I wouldn't redesign it. I would keep it the same. Maybe just update some of the look on the inside of it, but otherwise, I wouldn't redesign it. Keep it exactly the same. Obviously, the CGI today versus yesterday is going to be a lot better. But yeah, I wouldn't change anything. Another way they could actually bring it back is kind of base it more on like Star Trek. SeaQuest compared to Star Trek, The Next Generation, is that it was more freedom, I guess you could say, with the characters. You know, it was all taking place on Earth. They didn't have to go away for long periods of time compared to Star Trek. But they could go with the structure of Star Trek, have a little more rigid, have a little more formal, and still have some fun in there. Another thing they could also do, instead of setting it in the future, they could have it set today, because there's been a lot of advancements with technology and things to where they could just have it be like a futuristic today. You know, we have AI stuff popping up all the time. We're working on hologram stuff. So they could do something, make it just seem like it's set today and someone took all that technology and just put it together. Now, I know I mentioned, animating things for other shows, but this one I wouldn't animate. I would keep it live action. With today's CGI, they could make everything look a lot crisper. Now, I did say no redesign on SeaQuest, but now that I think about it, there is one thing I would change is the drones. I would probably ditch the drones because they had sensor drones that if they were taken out, SeaQuest was almost blind. So I would change the way the sensors worked, and you have the drones as like a way to extend the sensor range, not be the main sensor range. Like if they need the drones to go scout ahead or something like that, send them out. Like Star Trek, actually. Star Trek was sending drones to go scout a planet or something like that. They could do it like that. So overall, I would base this on season 1 of SeaQuest if I was going to remake it and ignore the other 2 seasons and just pretend like they didn't exist. And also, I would probably borrow some elements from Star Trek Next Generation to kind of get that synergy throughout the crew and the cast and have it working a little better. And I would actually leave out the time travel and aliens. So many times when we do sci-fi, we quickly jump to aliens and time travel. And also psychic abilities. I would leave those 3 things out. I might have the genetically modified humans because that is stuff that they are working on or trying to do. So you could have them touch on that. And they could have it in the early stages or middle stages of it. They come close but no cigar. But I think it would be interesting if they did attempt to remake this show. They could do so much with it. I feel like if it was just given another chance, or if they hadn't made so many drastic changes to it, just switch it to a different time slot, I think it would have survived and stayed on for a lot longer. And Roy Schreider probably would have stayed with the show throughout the whole thing. That's my take on remaking SeaQuest DSV. You guys take care.